It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity. About humanity. It's all about humanity. It's all about humanity.
Hello, model citizens. Welcome to my Junction. Tonight on Trains and Tech, we're going to go over my trip to the Bay Area of San Francisco for BayRails 10. That was a lot. My mind is racing. I'm thinking of like 600 things right now. Unfortunately, not many of them related to model railroading, but, you know, you can only control what you can control, right? I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Got a couple things on my desk here. Yes, this is version number 6 of my car cards. Obviously, they all need to be cut out. So someone's going to have to do that over the next couple of days. I put in some new black ink and it smeared a little bit and it really bothers me, but I don't think I'm going to reprint them because I'm sure version 7 is not too far around the corner. I went with yellow this time. Most of the old ones are all just regular colored, but for some reason I thought, you know, we'll make these yellow. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. Can't figure it out. I do have a package based on today's information. I don't know if this is going to be the last one I buy in a long time or what. So we might savor this unboxing because it, I don't know, could be the last for a long time. So we'll look at that in a little bit. Let's get this stuff out of the way. And I think we should probably just focus on BayRails and forget about everything else, because what else are we gonna do? Okay, where are we at? Where should we start? Was anybody here actually at BayRails? I guess I'm kind of curious. Not Baywatch. BayRails. BayRails was a event. I think it happens every other year, if I'm not mistaken. Island Ops, some of the smaller ones happen every year, but like River Rail, Min Rail, BayRails, Sound Rail, Van Rail, they all happen like every other year. So I got word about BayRails due to the OpSig. OpSig is a great organization. Yes, I was a host at Silicon Valley Lines. Lost in Space, who were you? Did I meet you? I'm assuming I met you. I was at Silicon Valley Lines. What was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying. Oh, OpSig. So through the OpSig, they got connected, and we oh, Josh. Is that you, Josh? The OpSig posted that they were inviting people out to BayRails. You just had to register. There were a certain number of spots. So I went. They've got a lot of layouts out there, and they did a great job doing all the organization and stuff. So this is going to be my weekend adventure. And I gotta say, the adventure started off with 3 layout tours, and it really set the weekend up for a lot of success. And I really need to thank John from TSG Multimedia and his wife Sydney for arranging my pre-BayRails layout tours, because they just really I don't know, it just got me in the space, and like really. So anyway, let's see what we got. So I put together a little slideshow. It's basically an unedited slideshow. We're just gonna step through slides, and we're just gonna see what happens. So first layout was a layout tour. A lot of these layouts, if you look at them, look at the name, write down the name of the person, the layout name, you can actually go to John TSG Multimedia's site, YouTube channel, and there are a lot of these videos available. Not my videos. There are videos of these places, of these layouts. I don't know what I'm saying. So the first picture I took at John's layout is his work area. Kind of reminded me of my situation a little bit, in that I just noticed nobody's posted a comment in such a long time that it's like stressing me out. And I don't know if it's that, like, did the stream stop or what happened, but I don't know. Hopefully, I'm just going to talk to myself whether people are there or not. Okay. I know, everyone's just watching. So, oh wait, this didn't come up. Hold on. Oh, I'm doing the wrong one. There we go. Okay. I gotta be in this window, not the other window. So there's the first one. John Petrovitz, Northwestern Pacific Railroad. This is an N-scale layout. This is not too far from San Francisco Airport, which is why this was set up as the first stop. It wasn't likely I was going to be able to travel really far, so the idea was to kind of work my way slowly out of the Bay Area after I landed. So this was the first layout. This is the first picture I took. You know, this is his work area, and if I can remember to, I'll point out some of his custom work, but almost everything on his layout is kit bashed or various different things like that. And yeah, so he works out of a little closet. His layout is actually in 2 bedrooms. Used to be 1 bedroom, but they were having some work done, and they decided to knock out the wall between the 2 bedrooms. His wife was there with us on the tour, and she was really great as well. It was just fun seeing the support and everything that was there. But just gorgeous details on the layout. All of these are pictures. I don't actually have any videos. One thing that I thought was really interesting about his layout, and that I noticed right away, and John actually said, oh, I don't think I even noticed that while I was there, but he had a huge staging area that was under the layout. So right below where all of this track is here was this big long staging area, and just you can kind of see the staging area poking out on the bottom right corner of this slide. Lots of buildings and stuff. This side of the layout was kind of a, scenic area with a lumber yard and everything. He also has a city area on the other side of the layout. This was his passenger station. He had so many trains on his layout that I'm not sure he could actually run a lot of them, because there was so many trains there. And I was like, I can relate to this. I can relate. He had a gorgeous, gorgeous collection of rolling stock on his layout. But yeah, I think so. I should warn everybody, there's about 708 photos here. Most of them were taken during the 3 layout tours. When I got to operations, I kind of stopped taking photos. This is his lower level. This is a newer level. He just started working on this level. His upper level is kind of, finished. So most of his work now is on this lower area. But just really gorgeous scenes, painted backdrops, painted in a way where they're not photorealistic, so they don't take your eyes off of the details in the scene in the front, but just enough detail to really, add to everything. Yeah, John, I don't know how, yeah, I just have to keep clicking. I gotta keep, when is Heath gonna do scenery like this? Heath is gonna do scenery like this when Lynn comes and does scenery like this on his layout. My layout isn't designed to have any scenery like this. Here's a little fuel stand as well. He had a lot of these buses on his layout. There were just buses everywhere. You can see that green New York Central car. When he gets a new car, he weathers it, checks the couplers, weighs them, does the whole thing to get them all set and ready for his layout. You can see in the background here, Philly's Diner. You guys may or may not remember the famous photo of Philly's Diner up here in the top left corner. He had the picture of it, and he obviously then had it modeled on his layout. He just said he had to put it on his layout. Lot of different water scenes, just well done, very, very well done scenery, really cool water scenes. We did end up running a train. I don't know if I have any photos of us actually running the train. Several car floats, several passenger trains, lots of just really nice details. You can see this weird little locomotive in the back here. It's kind of like a 44 tonner, but it's not. I am told that it is a prototypical locomotive. I wasn't aware of it, but it was. This is apparently an actual thing down there. This cypress lawn has some street running with the trolleys, some nice overpasses. This was on the lower section where he's still working. You can see these are locomotives that he's painted and weathered. Again, this is all N scale. Remember that from, I don't know. I don't know how he did, but he's been doing this stuff forever. You can see these are how he controls all the turnouts on the layout. I've gotten a lot of pictures of like how the layouts are controlled as well, just because I thought, that's a big part of it. I love he had a bunch of these little 44-ton switchers. I believe he painted this one as well, if I'm not mistaken. A little icing, I believe this is. A little icing area. Lots and lots flying A gasoline, obviously. Just, I don't even, I mean, do I need to even describe stuff? Just really, really cool. Tried to get an angle here. I really liked the grading he had, both on the bridge and on this sidewalk. It looked just like, just like the sidewalk grading that you would see. Here's a bit of his, city area. You can really see the tight streets and all the buildings all the way in the background. Got a nice, shot down one of the city streets. Here's a locomotive he painted. I asked him how he painted all the stripes on the front, whether he did it by, taping it out or what he did. And he said, no, I just did it by hand. If he screwed up, he just took the paint off and started over again. So yeah, all these lines are painted by hand on the front of that locomotive there, the zebra stripes, I guess you can call them. Here's another shot down a city street. A lot of vehicles, a lot of vehicles on its layout. Really kind of made the layout seem like it was alive. This was a cool little thing where the stairs went up the side of the mountain. He actually told me a story where he, I believe he was an electrician, I think he said it was, and he did a job at the top of these stairs, and they had to carry all of their stuff up the top of the stairs, and he made friends with one of the people that lived in one of these houses on either side, and they let him, keep all their tools and stuff up there so they didn't have to bring them up and down every day. So it was really kind of cool, not just seeing these people's layouts, but hearing the stories of kind of how and why they modeled what they were modeling. See a lot of street running here, a lot of neat track work with all these diamonds and everything, crossings, merchants and cold storage. Yeah, this is, I mean, newspaper. I asked him if he was done with the layout, and he said basically that upper layout was done, but he might go back and add more, trash like newspapers and stuff. So I took a picture of that as well. But you can just see all the little details, the top of the stairs here, or the top of the ladder on the side of the building, people in the city square. It was kind of like I just started taking pictures, and it was kind of inspirational. No, it's not New York City. His layout is called Northwestern Pacific Railroad. So it's the area he grew up in. I don't believe it's San Francisco though. It might be San Francisco. It might just be near San Francisco. I don't honestly remember. He told a story about this area as well. I don't know if I have a close-up picture of it or not, but I think he's pointing to it here. That's John himself, the layout owner. He was pointing to a little restaurant that he had along the back wall here. And I think maybe this is a picture of it here. Oh yeah, here we go. This Red's Java House. He actually had someone who was the daughter of the owner of Red's Java House, and he didn't know that was a connection, and this person came over and they saw it on his layout. I don't know. I have no idea. So Josh says many of these scenes are old San Francisco and surrounding areas. There you go. So again, like this is a prototypical building that he made, that the daughter that grew up in this place running around while her parents worked, recognized it and said the details were, correct. This is a DC layout. We did run a train while we were there. He had a train running. He basically said, he's got so many locomotives that he just he's kept his layout DC. So everything on the layout was DC. Here's a better picture of that hand-painted locomotive with the hand-painted stripes on the front of it. Actually, this might be a different one now that I'm saying that. I can't remember. No, it was the same one. This is the same one, 24. Same one. This is N scale. That's the N scale. You can see the size of the caboose ground throws compared to everything, and the details are just they just blew me away, which is why I just kept taking pictures, more and more pictures. Lots of 40-foot boxcars. I thought this was cool too. All the trucks. I know I mentioned it before, but all the trucks on the layout, a lot of locomotives. I love this too. I'm kind of trying to do my version of this a little bit in that back corner over there where the cars go inside, the little overhang of the building, but you can see all the signs and everything that he has. Here's here we go. This one's a little bit more in focus. Sacramento Northern 653. This caboose was kit bashed, I believe he said. They like cut it in half and made it shorter. And this locomotive is apparently also prototypical. So, if your name is Lance and you like prototypical modeling, this was a pretty cool layout. He had some neat photos on the wall. I thought it was interesting how a lot of people have like different photos of the area. He also had, and I don't remember the name of it, but it's one of those loops that you would hang your train orders on them, and the station agent would reach out, the window with this stick and hold it up, and the conductor would reach out and they'd grab the orders off of the stick as they went by a station. So, oh yeah, I mean, you got to have a turntable with a bunch of Southern Pacific locomotives on it, right? I was looking at these two locomotives. Let's see. Can you see my cursor there? Yeah, I think you can kind of see my cursor. There's two identical locomotives here, and I couldn't figure out what they were, what the front of them was. And it turned out they were two cab forwards. And I just never seen just the front of it poking out like that. So I couldn't figure out what they were just from the little thing. Here's another picture. This was power to the yard tracks, and again, these were the throttles. I've got these throttles sitting in storage somewhere. Not that I do DC anymore, but these are just what everybody used. His Mission Bay yard switches, more cars, more panels. I took so many pictures. I guess I need to speed up on some of these pictures a little bit, but man, there was just so much really cool stuff. Okay, here's something neat. I might need to go backwards. Okay, so let's go backwards. So you see back here, this building flat that is against the wall, right? And if we just step back a little bit, you'll see he's putting that in place. That was a little flat. You can almost make it out in this picture. That's a light switch back there. So he built basically a little recess in his backdrop so he could reach through to hit his light switch. And then he put a little flat building in front of it to hide it. So just, incredible detailing. And how did I know he was a true N-scaler? It's when I found his secret stash of 40-foot boxcars. But it wasn't just one drawer of 40-foot boxcars. He had this whole cabinet sitting just outside the layout. The layout door is just to the right of it. And this is an old map cabinet. and he just had drawers of cars. And if you look closely at these cars, they're all weathered. They've all been taken out at some point and weathered and basically gotten ready to go on the layout. Of course, it was kind of funny. I opened up this drawer and I'm like, oh, I've got that, Old Dutch Cleanser car. I've got that Gerber's car. It's kind of fun to see other, cars that you have on other people's layouts and know that we're just all kind of, working together. Here's this caboose drawer because, of course, you need a caboose drawer. And I didn't take a picture of all the drawers, but it was just a collection. This was the first layout. He was just so welcoming and so nice. Showed me his layout, showed me his little secret collection. And that was like my first hour in the Bay Area. And then I think the drive was about 40 minutes because in the Bay Area, everything takes forever to get to. The next layout I went to visit was in a place called Newark, California. The guy who owned the layout used to be a civil engineer from Newark, California. And he told me a story that when he was 22, he wanted this book on this railroad that he was interested in. And he couldn't afford the book, but for his birthday, his parents bought him this book. And it's now he's about 80, so 58 years later. And he is still just as passionate about this one specific railroad. And I had the opportunity to explore his version of the railroad. And of course, I'm talking about none other than Jack Burgess himself, Mr. Yosemite Valley Railroad. And Jack's just so passionate about it. He didn't know who I was, but John Abaticola asked if we could come over, and he opened up his space and spent time sharing it with me. And it was really important to me. If I was going to go all the way to San Francisco, I really wanted to see Jack's layout because there have been some rumors that Jack is considering taking down his layout. He is 80 now. I don't know if he's going to build something else or whatnot, but, people start talking about changes. So I really wanted to get there and see it. The scene from the thumbnail for this was one of the first scenes that I took a picture of. Broken down car. And he told me the story of this. And I don't remember it in detail, but it was something to the effect of, they put out a notice that if people showed up for work, they'd give them a certain amount of money, and way too many people showed up to work, so they would put tax on the road so that people would end up with damaged tires so that they couldn't get to work to collect the money. So these are some people that have experienced a flat. Jack, being the civil engineer that he was, he had to model a manhole cover. So I noticed this right away. He told me a lot of people don't notice this, but yeah, he had to put his job on the layout. He also his layout is DCC, but he still has some of his old System 1 throttle panel jack things on his layout. So I took a picture of this, and he looked at me like I was completely crazy. He didn't understand why I was taking pictures of that. Like when you're at his layout and there's all these just absolutely gorgeous Yosemite Valley scenes, why was I down there taking a picture of his throttles? And it was just kind of the whole thing. Like, the whole thing was just so immaculate, you know, his switch machines and everything. If you don't know, Jack Burgess is a prototypical modeler. Jack's layout is quote unquote finished. The reason his layout is finished is because all of the areas he's modeled, he has hundreds of photos of the Yosemite Valley Railroad. So everything has a picture, and he modeled every scene exactly to the picture. And once he modeled it to the picture, that scene was done. So he has modeled and completed his layout because there's nothing more to do. He's modeled the scene as it was in the picture. So he has a picture somewhere showing all this grime down the center and this little, spot of whatever to the right side and everything. And that's what he modeled. A lot of the cars sitting on the layout too, he'll have some photo showing that car sitting in that location on his layout. This at one time was a working derail. The wires here on the outside went back to the switch house, and in that little switch house you could actually turn the motor, which would pull the wires, which would open and close the derail. This derail was used to protect this crossing, right? So they would open the derail to make sure that nothing would, they wouldn't have a crash, right? The train would go off the rails. But again, this is, prototypical scene, exactly as it was. John from TSG Multimedia has a huge series on Jack's layout. I actually asked Jack if he was going to write a book on his layout, and he said, why would I? There are videos out there. Go watch the videos. Jack, probably told the same stories he told me on those videos, and he's probably told those same stories hundreds of times. This little switch down here in the bottom right corner, that little toggle switch, it would actually raise and lower that semaphore. So he had a lot of animation, a lot of actual working elements on the railroad. Here's another picture. System 1 throttle. For those who don't know, Wengro Electronics, this throttle is the original NCE throttle. It's virtually identical to the NCE throttle you would buy today. And Jack didn't understand why I was taking pictures of it. And I was just taking pictures of it just so that I could show you. You'll see more. I have more pictures of Ram tracks and whatnot throttles because for whatever reason, they had a bunch of them out there. This is what the underneath of Jack's layout looked like. The reason I took this picture is that these are the switch machines he's used, these little black cylinder things. They're essentially a slow motion switch machine. A lot of them he mounted in this orientation on the side, and you can see this little armature he made up to throw the switches, but just really, really nice, slow movement of the switches. Here again, the System 1 throttle because, just because. Just a nice, simple scene. He told me about this, the barbed wire is wrong. And he said that he had somebody come over and actually tell him that the barbed wire was wrong. And I'm kind of curious if anybody knows why the barbed wire is wrong. You can kind of make it out in the picture. He didn't redo this area, but when he did the next area, he did it correctly. So the reason the barbed wire is wrong is that the barbed wire should be on the inside of the fence. So the side of the fence that the cows are on. So if a cow went and leaned against this wire, the wire's actually on the back side, so the wire would just pop right off. So the wire should be on the inside so that if a cow did happen to lean against it, it wouldn't come off the poles. So it makes sense when you hear somebody say it, but, you know, stuff happens. So again, just taking tons and tons of pictures. You know, really neat little details. And again, he's got pictures of all this. And he would actually, there's some cases, and I think I have some cases where he would actually take out the picture and show it to me. So you can see right here on the stool, he's actually got the picture that he was showing me for this area. The detail, like the rocks on the side here. I don't remember. Oh, I remember why I took a picture of this. So you see where the switch is. The switch, he actually recessed the fascia so that he could mount the switch on the fascia, but if you rubbed against it, you would hit the lower area first. So that switch is recessed, which is just like, who would think to do that? A lot of interiors as well, completely done, lit. You can see the bed here and everything. He told me that he did take some creative license with this building. The little shed down at the bottom right, I believe he said, was the kitchen, and he built stairs going up on the inside into the main house. But he said that he doesn't have a picture that actually confirms those stairs were there, but he believes, based on everything he knows, that there probably would have been stairs there. These stained glass windows, he went and hunted down and found the person that would know what the colors of stained glass were, because obviously all the pictures are black and white. So he went and he found the colors so that he can do the right colors for the stained glass window. So yeah, from 22 years old, well, before 22, right? He wanted the book. He got the book at 22. And then he wrote his own book, I think in 2011. He showed me the photo of this as well. Tried to get some, you know, decent shots. He took the roof off of this building to show me that all of the interiors, whether you can see them or not, were completely modeled. Paul, I do know, like, some people have done AI. Like, I have some pictures hanging up on the back wall, and someone threw them in AI just to see how things would come out. They got the Conrail colors of the locomotive like completely wrong. But it is interesting to kind of do it to kind of see what it thinks about stuff. Obviously, all the locomotives were either kit bashed or scratch built to replicate the actual things. Wow, we are 40 minutes in. I am never going to get through all the photos, but we'll keep going for a little while. So he made all these cars, and I said, what are these holes for? And of course, with the kids being the kids that they are, there were some comments about not sticking your thing in the hole, but nobody knew what the holes were for. So the guy's hanging out, working. He is somewhere too, like, he knows these guys' names. Somehow he, like, you know, would go and figure out the names of the people that lived in the towns, and he'd, you know, model the actual people. And I think it was pretty cool. He had that person, the way they're bending down like that. He'd say he'd go to train shows and just buy hundreds of these little people and come back and, you know, paint them up for his layout. So this was a neat picture. He pulled this out, and on the back of the picture was those three guys' names, because he found the person, I think, that like worked in that building or something like that. So in prototypical fashion, he modeled that building with those three guys in front of it. And not only that, but that little sign on the building to the right there, if you zoom in enough, you can actually make out that there are actually some words, you know, Exhibit C, Yosemite Lumber Company, notice there shall be no something, but the sign was virtually readable, almost. This was a neat little area. This is where they had a, I don't know what it's called, but there's a steep hill, and they had this winch system set up at the top, and they would lower the logs down on the flat cars, and that would recharge the batteries, and then the energy that they stored by lowering the log cars down was enough energy to raise the log cars back up when they were unloaded. So it didn't cost them anything to run these cars up and down. And this was them pulling oil or gas or something up the side of the mountain. Another semaphore that you could flip the button down here. He had this neat little glass that you could look through to see the helix on the inside of his layout, and this is just what it looked like on the fascia. He was like, "Hey, look in that hole." I was like, "What?" I looked in the hole, and there was this whole thing inside there, which I just thought was kind of brilliant. Also, this is a good time to point out, he had these little ledges too for people to lean on, and the idea being is that, you know, he'd rather people were leaning on a purpose-built ledge than leaning on the layout itself. So he had those all over. This little handrail you can kind of make out at the bottom of the photo here that I just cut off. That is an actual Yosemite Valley grab rail that he's using. This is where you have to duck under to get in and out of the layout. So he used an actual Yosemite Valley grab rail as well. A lot of things were, you know, labeled as well. Another picture that, you know, Jack just couldn't figure out, why am I taking pictures of this stuff, but just thought it was neat, like how he did all the wiring, and, you know, I'm interested in that part of it as well, right? So, oh, here's a better picture of the grab rail, the actual Yosemite Valley grab rail. Some of the details too, like this air conditioner here. So at this point, I've been looking at all kinds of details all around his layout. So I look up and I notice this little like dial in his ceiling, and I go, what is that dial for? And then he tells me, he's like, I don't remember. And then they guess, they think, he goes, I don't remember. I just tell people that they can go up there and adjust things with the knob, but I don't know that it does anything. He thinks at one point it may have controlled the volume for one of his sound effects, but he didn't remember anymore what it was up there for. This guy he modeled, he lived in this little hut right here, and he got the whole story of this guy and from his son. This was the guy's dog. His dog was named Cat. So he knew all of the information on these guys. This was kind of it's kind of a joke with Jack that he doesn't have any diesel on his layout. So they bought him this diesel locomotive, and he uses it with his track cleaning. You can't really tell, but those are the track cleaning cars behind that diesel. So that's why that's there, and it's kind of a joke for Jack. This is John Abaticola from TSG Multimedia making some weird little face. I don't know why he's making that face, but he was the one that set all this up for me. This bridge that is completely damaged, somebody kind of fell down his step into his layout area, and this bridge was in the way. It was where this duck under is here, where John's ducking under, and the guy kind of grabbed onto the bridge and completely smashed it. So instead of trying to rebuild it, Jack just kind of put it over here as a memorial to the bridge, because he said this bridge, he scratch built this bridge. So it took him, you know, whatever, a month, 2 months through. I don't know how long it took him. I don't know why I started saying that, but it took him a long time. So he didn't want to go through it again to build another bridge. So now we're in the kind of the outside part of the layout. Still, like, there was just so many little details that I just kept taking pictures. We are at 196 slides of 708, just to give you an idea of how many darn pictures I took. The station, the Yosemite mail car. Here he is showing me, you know, 3 people riding. These were the people, or this was the guy. The guy in the center, I believe, was the person that owned the station, and they're modeled in the background. I don't remember if I took a picture of them, but here they are. Bob was the dog's name, Jack Scullin, Frank Higgins, and the Judge Fred Ostrander. So these were all the, you know, oh, here they are, here. So that dog and all the people, he's got the names. So, I mean, just so incredible to me, the detail. Has his paint booth. I just thought, you know, you got to take a picture of the guy's paint booth. This is the only kind of workshop-esque stuff he does back here. He's got a separate room in the back, which is his actual workshop. But the paint booth was built out here in this space. So he left it out here, and that's where he does his painting. On the wall, in the cases on the wall are models that he built for like his MMR certificate and for different contests. So he was showing me the inside and all the work and all the detail. All scratch built. He had somebody, you know, photo etch this brass for him and make it, but you know, everything's built with styrene or wood and scratch built by Jack's hands. First scratch built model completed in 1965. Again, just so much to take pictures of. He had this old clipboard here. Had this phone on the wall. This phone actually works. It actually works. I don't know. There's more to say to that. But yeah, he was enjoying sharing. A calendar from August of, I believe it's 1939, which is, yeah, here we go, August 1939. That is the month and year of his layout. So it's very, very specific. Paul, I believe if I'm not screwing up the story, I believe his wife was usually on the other end of that phone. So they set that up so that she could call him when he was out working in the layout room. There's a little book that was made up. This was a logging scene. This used to be its own separate scene. He took this to contests and won a bunch of awards with it, and now it's a part of his layout. I got a little bit of a fascination with switch stands. Just kept taking pictures of them. So one of Jack's disciples, and I don't know if disciple's the right word, but this guy who lives not too far from Jack started coming over to help Jack build his layout, learned a lot about prototypical modeling, and had his own layout and kind of ended up ripping it out and starting over is kind of what I'm understanding, and ended up building the Western Pacific. This layout is a layout that I went on a layout tour at, but this was a layout that was a part of BayRails. So theoretically, you could have actually gone and operated on this layout, but I got to see it the night before and do a tour of it. I forget what the name of this Y is, but it's some famous Y, which I'm sure somebody in the chat probably knows what it is, but I forget. There's probably a sign or something somewhere that Kenny Y. Thank you, Josh. That's what it's called. Oh, and Sydney's here too. Yep, the Kenny Y. I'm terrible with remembering. At this point, it was, I think, like 10 p.m. for me or something like that. So I was starting to fade a little bit. But Jim also says his layout is done, that he's done all he's going to do. He thought for a little while about tearing it down. That's Sydney in the back. Jim Diaz is to the left. John Abaticola has his back to me. This was in his like workshop. It was kind of like around the corner, kind of a little extension or end to the layout. Again, another switch stand but you can kind of see the influence a little bit of Jack Burgess on Jim's layout. And this was how all of Jim's switches were mounted on the layout. There's a little toggle switch inside there, and you throw it up, in this case, for straight ahead, and down would be diverging. So he had those all around the layout. These were, he was getting ready for his BayRails sessions, so these were his switch lists. He just had them sitting out. I think it's really interesting how different everybody kind of sets up their operations and how it all kind of works in the end, and it all creates, various different car movements. He's got a little step you can see here that you would step up on to reach that upper deck. And again, just like so many little details, so much space too for you to be able to take for scenery, right? Like my layout doesn't have a lot of scenery space. This area, so in the middle of the picture, you can probably make out a bumper on the end of track. That is where that track ends. This whole end of this peninsula, there's no track on it whatsoever. And he said the reason why is because the prototype didn't have any track on the end of the peninsula. So he didn't model it in this area. So the track is about halfway back in this picture. Both this layout and Jack's layout were in what used to be their garages. When I asked Jack if his layout was in his garage, he said, no, this is the layout room. This Shay is just so cool looking. That's why I want a Shay, is when I see something like that. Well, and Ron, like that's to them, the modeling license is, you know, the fact that it is a model in the first place, but they still want it to be as, you know, as close as possible. Centerline and CMX track cleaning cars. He wasn't running this, but he had it on the layout as well. A lot of little details all over the layouts. I think I actually took a picture of this same sign twice. He had all of this fluorescent lighting with all of these grids, louvers up above them, and it made a really nice lighting in the space. The light was very focused on the layout and not really on the room, which I really appreciated and enjoyed. Here's the Ketty Y from the other side, looking across. And of course, how many little speeders do you need? I just thought it was cool, all these little speeders lined up. Another Ketty Y picture. And I would have remembered it was the Ketty Y when I got to here. Maybe not. Probably not. Just like, I don't know, like I'm not a scenery guy myself, really, kinda. But like, you go and you see layouts like this and you kind of get inspired to like build a layout that is just scenery. Like, just put, you know, one piece of track going through this, you know, gorgeous area, right? Like this whole scene, right? Like you don't even see any track in this picture. I think that's track there, like at the far side of it, but there's no track in the main part of this picture. It's just all scenery. Lynn and Paul both said scenery is fun. This is the kind of thing too, I guess, like I go, like there are several layouts that I go to all the time, and I guess I've kind of lost the I still notice details and stuff like that, but like seeing these layouts that are like done and like at this sort of level of scenery work is just something else. Cows with a bathtub, because, you know, you always need a bathtub with your cows. Knotty pine, because a nice space, like just a nice space too. And again, just so much space without track. So many details everywhere. I also really appreciated a lot of the fascias were really like clean and well done and finished, and I think it just really makes, or really like helps improve the environment when the fascia is really nice. So we had a sound effect going of a barking dog, and of course it would drive his dog crazy, but it was this dog barking at this cat. Here's another picture. The track ends about 1, 2, 3, 4 of those little fire boxes back, and the rest of that is all without. So question is, there's 42 people here. Should I keep going a little bit more? The next set of slides should maybe go a little faster, maybe. The next set of slides I get to are the layouts that I got to operate on. So I spent a lot more time operating and a lot less time taking pictures. So we do have a lot of slides to go. But I'm tempted to keep going at least a little bit, but or I can open the last box I'll ever open. I don't know. the layout that I went to, the first operating session was at the Murado Belt with Dave Stanley. This was a little bit of a drive outside of Newark. So after I left Jim Diaz's, I drove, I think maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours or something. I don't really remember how far it was, out to the hotel, stayed at a hotel out by him. And his was the first layout I operated on. Yeah, so he had this really cool plaque from an Alco build plate. Again, like a nice space to be in for the model railroad. This is when I first got there. Oh, is it Murata? Did I spell it wrong? M-O-R-A-D-A, not, I spelled it wrong. Go find TSG Multimedia's channel, and you can, there's videos of this layout on there. I was taking a lot of me being out there, like I was just getting ideas and more ideas and more ideas and more ideas, and I just kept getting more excited by everything I was seeing. You know, how were people lighting their layouts? How were they doing the wiring? How were they doing the panels? You know, how was everything being done? I guess he did tell me this, and I took a picture of it, and I completely forgot. But now seeing this picture again, it says, "Gentlemanly favorites upstairs, tequilas, Sheila's, cocktails." If you go watch TSG Multimedia's video, I won't give it away, but it'll explain tequila, Sheila's, cocktails. So there's a good reason to go watch that. So again, this was all pre-op session. Again, I was just like details. So one thing about inviting a lot of guys over to your house is those guys at some point are going to have to go to the bathroom. And do you really want guys trudging through your house to go to the bathroom? Well, not everybody does. So Dave's wife, and I guess Dave, came up with another solution. So his layout was in like I guess it was kind of a shed, like off to the side. So the shed didn't have a toilet or anything in it. So you would have to go into his house to use the toilet. But you know what they say, you know, men can pretty much just go anywhere if they're going number one. So they built a urinal outside. So they have a fenced-in kind of backyard, and instead of going into the house when you had to do number one, you just went out back to the urinal. And of course, he had some fun little signs and everything on it as well. But yeah, I just thought that was a brilliant solution to a problem, I guess you can say. He had some old rails sitting outside, because doesn't everybody have old rails sitting outside? And this was the door into his shed area. Oh, geez. Sorry. Oh, going back. Start over. Sorry. My fault. So he has this little urinal out there. Attention, this is a remote control zone. But yeah, so this is where the men would go to the bathroom. It's out in the urinal if you had to go number one. Sorry, so here's the rails on the ground. Here's the entrance. Sorry. I did that to make it all dramatic, and then I forgot to bring it up. Yeah, you're right, Paul. It was actually nicer than I expected as well. Again, more signs, more stuff, more pictures. I ended up running the yard. It was the first time I had a, quote, yard master job. He ran with switch lists, so I basically just followed the switch lists and did what they told me to do, and everything worked out, you know. Of course, he added crap text And next to Craptex was the home of Fernando's Frijoles. I don't know how to say that word. How big was the shed? I don't know. That's a great question. If you go to the BayRails 10 website and you look up participating layouts, it would probably say. I think actually, so this is the yard that I worked. These are other areas. Oh, okay. So I took a picture of this because I thought this was really interesting. Way in the back, when you couldn't, where you couldn't really reach well, he had some magnets, and instead of having the magnets visible like on my layout, he just put these two posts up at either end of the magnets. So if you stopped the cars at the appropriate place where these two little posts were, the magnets would magically uncouple the cars in the back. And it did actually work. I did actually use it, and it did actually work. Again, you know, a little speeder, because lots of cool stuff. How cool is that little basketball scene, too? Again, took pictures of, you know, how he handles the switch lists. You can maybe make out the controller over here on the side. He was using CVP, which used to be all the rage. There you go. Dave's is a 20 by 28 building that includes an office desk area. So yeah, there was an area in the back with a couch and where the dispatcher would sit. Well-detailed little log area. I liked this as well, like you know, instead of having the track kind of go up and down, he cut the fascia down to reveal a little culvert down at the bottom, and I thought that was kind of nice as well. Don, my intention is that you're gonna come do the scenery. Yes, Dave, CVP is an easy DCC, that is correct. So this was neat as well. I don't know if you can make out just behind that MILW car, there's a little kind of weight thing sitting on the rail. And I didn't really understand what it was at first, but basically he just takes little 1/4 ounce weights, he drills a screw into them, he puts a little brake wheel on top of it, and then he coats it in some sort of plastic. I'm guessing the plastic is something like, you know, like a tool dip or something like that. Here you can kind of see the screws sticking out the bottom. But he uses them instead of, you know, if you have a gradient on your layout, the car is going to roll. So that was his solution for a brake wheel. I thought it was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Oh boy. This is going to be trouble. Yeah, they're just nicely detailed little stops that I think, you know, fit in with the look. So I took a bunch of pictures of labeling and stuff. That's another really fun thing that I just entered the world of. I got myself a little lamination machine, so I'm now able to laminate things, which I don't know why, but it's just like one of the most exciting things. So, looking at a lot of stuff. He had a staging panel that was a drawer that pulled out. And the next thing, just so for anybody that does operating sessions, the next picture is the most important item that's provided during an op session, and this was a BayRails event, so went all out on this one. But underneath that cloth there was a cheese platter, but we had cookies and veggies and cheese platters and crackers and apples and oranges and all kinds of stuff. So quite the platter from fruits and veggies to cookies. This here, this is the yard I ran. That's the loco that I ran. Yeah, he didn't have donuts, but he pretty much had everything else. Yeah, so that's the locomotive. So after Dave's, of course, you get back to the hotel, and I had to drive a little ways to get to the hotel. And when I got to the hotel, I of course flipped on the TV, and what do you know it? Look what was on the TV at the hotel. I couldn't believe it. I was blown away. I don't actually provide pizza, but I absolutely would be happy to order some. I can't do cheese, so I tend not to eat pizza. But yeah, I love pizza. I miss pizza. So for those of you scratching your head saying, what movie is that? Because you don't know what movie that is. That's Unstoppable. So my next visit was to Silicon Valley Lines. This was a lot of fun because these are a group of guys that I've spent a bunch of time with, but just online. Josh, who was in here earlier, who might still be in here, was the train master over at Silicon Valley Lines. I went there the night, actually, when I got back to the hotel. I went to, this is Josh. Josh was the train master at SVL. So when I got back to the hotel, it was still kind of early-ish. I think it was like 5 o'clock or something, and Unstoppable was on. But I reached out to James Brazel, the president over at Silicon Valley Lines, and I said, you know, what are you guys doing tonight? And he's like, well, we're setting up. And I said, well, you know, if I drive over, can I hang out? So this is actually the night before the op session there. He was just showing me all the panels and how their panels work. I was taking a bunch of pictures of various stuff. I don't know why, but they seem to have a lot of Long Island stuff. Here's Long Island locomotives, and there was the Long Island cars. They had the little custom NCE throttle panels. They had some really neat cars, or at least I thought they were neat. And I just liked the fun and the different stuff. But what didn't he think so? Oh, wait, Unstoppable was a great flick. It is a great flick. But yeah, that car, and then I really like this purple car. I don't think I've ever seen anything that purple before. Here is the little MEC scene with the box car, you know, because you got to do it. Silicon Valley had a lot of areas that were quite detailed, and then a lot of areas, obviously, still to do. Yeah, so Silicon Valley's is not typical, prototypical. What I was told what they do is like one scene will be transitional, and then the next scene will be modern, and then the next scene will be transitional, and the next scene will be modern. So they can run transitional op sessions and modern op sessions, and they kind of, you know, just alternate them. Or I mean, they can choose whichever session they want to run, I guess, but they're basically kind of altering them. Yeah, so this is the inside of, I don't have a picture of it. Obviously inside of the station, the stairs down to the train. Silicon Valley Lines does have a livery. So there was a bunch of cars that is set up. And this was funny too, like, how would you pronounce this? Nowhers. It's Nowers, which I thought was great. So yeah, lots of Silicon Valley Line cars all around the layout, which I thought was a lot of fun. Somewhere in here, I actually have decals from Silicon Valley lines. These are some, basically some, I don't know that they're buck boost or whatever the opposite of a buck boost is, but they took your kind of standard voltage regulator and they added a little board to the back of it because, you know, Sydney says I can't stop saying nowheres. Yeah, it's not nowhere. Silicon Valley Lines over the years has gone through many different electrical changes, and their wiring definitely reflects that. But they are working on cleaning some stuff up. These are some 3D printed cases for their PSSXs. They are going to make little plastic covers for them as well. I do have some of these as well. I use them hidden though. I use them under my layout so that things don't get pushed up against them and break the boards. But these are nice little 3D printed enclosures that they've got on the fascia. So when you do cause a short, as you inevitably will, you'll be able to see the lights and know where the short is located. Here's an SVL locomotive that somebody painted. There was a gentleman at the club that unfortunately passed at this point. But he was very inspired by John Armstrong and wanted to build something in the style of John Armstrong. So the end of this this area is was and is inspired by John Armstrong. These, I believe, no, it wasn't Bernard. I don't remember the guy's name. Josh will tell us his name, but it wasn't Bernard. They had these Great Northern cars, which I just really, or cars, locomotives, which I thought were really cool. I think they determined they're Y1s or something. Oh, there we go. Mount Nichols, John Nichols is who did that. This is all still the night before I operated. I just, you know, took pictures. If you look at this layout as a whole, it doesn't look like there's a lot of modeling on it, but then when you start looking at all of the little arrows, there is a lot of detail. I thought this picture was kind of funny, being at Silicon Valley Lines. This is how they get 5 volts. They put a 12-volt cigarette lighter thing onto their 12-volt bus, and then they plug a cigarette lighter to 5-volt adapter into it. I don't know. I don't know if I took any pictures of the narrow gauge in this one. So there's a picture of the narrow gauge. You can't really see it, but it is right in the left middle of the picture is the narrow gauge. And that's Josh's favorite part of the layout. I think Josh designed it or something, if I'm not mistaken. They had a bunch of these little control areas. Yes, you can see that little box there is ram tracks. Yeah, so that is Josh's area. I took this picture because I thought it was funny that they have a mixture of light bulb short detection as well as the first version PSXs. And here is the little ram tracks device as well. Josh is not in this picture, but that's Dave Faulkner on the left. That's James Brazel, the president, on the right. The gentleman in the center is it Matt? Sorry, I'm blanking. Ramtrak's throttle, just to compare it. Oh, Chris. Thank you, Chris. I couldn't remember. Ramtrak's throttle, and of course, just to compare the Ramtraks to the NCE Pro Cab, and just to do an even better comparison, we have Ramtrak's Power Cab and Pro Cab. And just to show how things haven't changed much in the NCE world, here's the NCE cab units, and then here's a Ramtraks cab unit. So Yep, you can see major changes when NCE took over Ram Tracks. Here is kind of a wide view. This is during the op session or at the start of the op session. You can see the sign here for Nauer's Yard. This was Terry? God, I'm terrible with names. I am so glad people wear name tags at these events because I can't remember anybody. Wayne. Geez, Wayne. Yes. God. I knew there was a Y. I just couldn't remember where the Y was. Wayne is the regular guy that runs this yard. And this was another SVL locomotive. I don't know why I have 3 pictures of it. They had a little area with the ECC cars on it. And here's another callback to John Armstrong with the gory and defeated railroad cars. Another gory and defeated car. And then just some neat details. Oh, so all of their areas are, their layout goes from A through Z, basically, right? So the reason it's called Nauers is because they needed a town that started with an N, so they came up with Nauers. So here they needed a town that started with an I, so they came up with Igo or Ego or whatever. I guess it's Ego. Igo? I don't know how they say it now. Oh, here, okay, so here it is. Here's the Granite Rock Company number 10. This is the area that, oh, okay, so it is a real area. It's just not real in the, I go Nauers. So it is a real yard. It's just not a yard in San Francisco. So here it is. Dennis, this is for you, the Granite Rock Company. Josh developed this area and made it, basically it's a little switching puzzle area, kind of. I got to run this job. Oh, so they are real railroad places. They're just not all in San Francisco. Okay. So I got a couple of pictures of this while I was running it, and that's the only picture. Here's an SVL. Is that an SVL car? Or an Operation Lifesaver? Looks like it's an SVL locomotive with Operations Lifesaver. And this was one of their members. This is his livery. His name is Henry, so his livery is Henry. This was the first switching area that I ran, and I know Josh knows this, so I will say it anyway. The person that ballasted the track back here, while they meant well, they got some ballast up into the rails, and it made it a little awkward at times to run the trains back here, but they know about it. They'll work it out. And yeah, there were a couple of young gentlemen there that were just very, very into it, but just very smart, very attentive, very on top of things. It was really good. Henry was one of them. I don't know why that picture's angled like that, but it is. The old Carol D. Again, just like look at the detailing in some of these scenes. Here's the little John Plocker, the little John Plocker guy. You're looking for this guy, right? This little guy. You can see him in front of that steam train. Wide view. There's Mount Nichols to our left. The switching area that I was working is on the back, on the right, on the bottom. Just trying to take some wider pictures just to get a sense of where things are. This picture, though, there's something interesting about this picture. And it's kind of below the bridge, the rail bridge in the back, that girder bridge in the back. Dennis, if you want to get involved in remote operations, I would reach out to well, Josh, who's on here, Lost in Space, or you can reach out to James Brazel on my Discord, and he can probably help you out as well. Murph was dispatching, but so was Dave Falkenberg's son, John, also jumped in and did some dispatching. So back to this picture, if you haven't figured it out yet, that back wall is actually a mirror, but this little hut here, if you notice, they've got a sign on the front that says Rivers Inlet Resort, and then they got a sign on the back that says Steamboat Seafood. So when you kind of look at it in the river, in the mirror, it looks like it's another building because you're looking at the back. And that was just smart, just really smart. All right, so the next place we went after Silicon Valley Lines is we went to the Santa Clara Depot. Sydney is a volunteer there, and I believe John is a volunteer there as well. Oh, interesting. So way back in the day, Silicon Valley Lines was actually a modular club. So a lot of the sections, or my understanding is there are a significant number of sections that were originally built as modules. They used to have shipping containers that they actually operated the layout out of until they had to move locations. So yeah, I forgot that. All right, Santa Clara Depot, Sydney is one of the volunteers there, so hopefully she will tell us some more about it as I go through some of these. One of the interesting things while I was there, they had a table of free books, and they said, like, take the books, we can't sell them. You can see here see our eBay listings, so they do post some stuff on eBay, but they were like, these books we can't sell. I'm like, and I think I talked about this earlier, I'm like, how can you not sell a John Mallory book? Like, what? Like, why can't you? Anyway, they're like, you know, we can't sell it, so you can have it. And I said, I'll take it. So they've got CTC panels. So there are two fairly big layouts that are in this depot. There was this card for some company called TSG Multimedia. I don't know if you guys want to check them out. They're on YouTube. But this is the N-scale layout. There was an N-scale layout on one side of the building, and I think at a certain point we'll see the I have like a wide shot. They had this little card here talking about the HO scale and the N-scale layout. It looked like the N-scale is 11 by 52 feet, and the HO scale is 15 by 80 feet. They are definitely like museum layouts. I believe they were running trains when we got there, but it was kind of like the end of the day. So they weren't completely running trains. But you can see again, like lots and lots. I don't know if it's finished. I guess they've kind of finished it, and then I guess they rebuild certain areas. So it's, you know, it's finished, but it's not finished. They've got a bunch of speedometers around, which I think is really fun. I don't know. I like speedometers. But again, like just another layout with a lot of open scenery, a lot of interesting things around. And obviously this is a museum, so they've got a lot of museum things as well. This is looking back across the room. So the door we came in is at the far side. The N-scale layout is now on the right side. The HO scale layout is on the left side. That is Sydney with her back to us, and I forget who the gentleman is that she is talking to, but I believe he is like that, something to do with the head of the depot or somebody. He's somebody important. I can't remember who he is. These are actual panels from West Cahill and East Cahill, is my understanding. The actual yard panels. A lot of historic items. Here you can see again, they had drawers, basically hiding, the switches so that people wouldn't just pull them out and futz with things. So of course I had to take pictures of them. Another speedometer. You can see there the sensors. PSX 1s, originals. So one thing that's pretty cool about this museum as well is that they've got a refurbished, now I forget what they call it, business car. They have a refurbished business car out back. So luckily for us, when you travel with Sydney, she gets us into fancy places, and they open the door for us. Just kind of a, cool little break thing. So this is restored. These are not original stained glass, but they did make them based off of some photos and tried to match a design of a door window that we'll see in a little bit. There's a little information on the OWR&N business car, number 184. Not everything is original, but they did leave this up in the corner so you could see it. That is original up there in that corner. I don't remember if this was original or not, but I just thought it was cool, so I took a picture of it. This was the secretary's room. That's where the secretary would work. On the left, that is a bed that would pull down for the secretary to sleep in. Again, this was refurbished. Here is for another person. I don't remember who. But this is another room, another bedroom. I just thought the ceiling was interesting. I believe that ceiling was so that you could get air across the top for, sort of, quote, air conditioning a little bit. There's a picture of James poking his head out of the bathroom. This bathroom was between that last bedroom we were in and the current bedroom that I'm standing in. Nice little detailing on top of this cabinet. They had on the dining table, these are backrest covers. So all of the different trains and stuff would have their own backrests, and apparently China was a big thing. So there was a lot of China as well on display. This was the gentleman that was giving us the tour of this business car. And you can see that cabinet in the back there has all the China in it. Here's another write-up, the same write-up as earlier, if you want to look at it. Here's a better picture of all of the seat back covers, as well as there's a couple napkins and stuff in there as well. This was the cook's, the chef's car, as far as I understand it. This was the something on top of the kitchen. I don't remember what it was for. It might have been for the stove, I think. Here's a little thing that people could push a button and the little thing would ring, and then the chef would go run and take care of whoever's little thing. Robin Gilstrom. Oh, I'm clicking the wrong thing. That was the person that gave us the tour. This guy was just standing in the way, checking his phone, while the rest of us were trying to get a tour. Here's the outside of the depot. They recently painted this. We got taken on a little tour away from the depot. I think they were trying to get us into a scary, dark place. We ended up going into the tower that is at this Santa Clara station. Don't know why, but there's a Southern Pacific first aid kit with some very old Advil and an old Johnson & Johnson kit in it. I don't know how old these Ricola are, and I was not about to try them. This was, where all the switch wiring came in. I don't believe anything in this tower is connected to anything anymore, if I'm not mistaken. Here's an old train paperwork. There's all kinds of stuff in here. Part of what John and Sydney do is go through a lot of this stuff and, keep the stuff that is valuable and get rid of some of the stuff that's not valuable. Just some neat, just some neat history, right? A big train cabinet. There's a railroad crossing sign. But then what we did is we walked up the stairs and we went into this little tiny room. And this was the upstairs of the tower. This is where all the magic happens. This is the map in the back of the tower, depending on how the switches are thrown. These lights may light up or not light up. There's a little rheostat because, I don't know what that's for. This is how they throw the switches. So it's not levers, it's handles. This is what the inside of the unit looks like. Yeah, so Sydney's working on, there you go, archiving all of the artifacts in a database. Probably. There's this old typewriter with this hat sitting on it. Southern Pacific signalman, signal department. There's some paperwork if you want to see what a Form A clearance card or something looks like. That was on the back of the chair. I don't suspect this was an original chair. I think it was way too nice of a chair. But that was theoretically where the signalman would have sat and filled out their paperwork in order to pass it along to the next train. And that's the view down the tracks. If you saw this video, or if you clicked on this video before it started, you would have seen a short video of the Caltrain's train that went by while we were there. This was just a little item sitting outside of the depot as we were heading back. There's a baggage car. This baggage car was all cleaned up and newly painted. And after the depot, it was dinner time. So there's a picture of the dinner. This is before everyone sat down, obviously. This is some of the people that went to BayRails. Not all of the people were there. Oh yeah, so yeah, there was a chair to the side that looked more original, but the one at the desk didn't seem like a chair. It seemed way too fancy to be up in the signal tower. But maybe I guess I could be wrong. So some people are still watching, so let's keep going. Santa Cruz and Northern was the next layout that I went to. Jim Providenza, really, really, really nice guy. Jim was just a really, really nice guy. I don't know. Yeah. In addition to his inside layout, which is the one we operated on, he had an outdoor narrow gauge layout. I don't remember the gauge, but it is like 1 to 20.2, I think. Or 20.2 to 1, I guess would be more accurate. Or is it 1? Whatever it is, I think it was like 20.2. Dead rail, obviously. But yeah, so he has this little outdoor layout going, and he does get it ready, and he does run it. He has turntables, which he takes in so they don't get damaged. Here's a little bit of his staging yard, and here is one of his locomotives. If I'm not mistaken, I don't remember. He has a number 9 and a number 24. One of them is a modified Bachmann, and the other one is more scratch built. But I don't remember which is which. I noticed he had a proto throttle on the table, so I made a point to say, oh, I really like using the proto throttle and switching. And he said, oh, do you want a job with the proto throttle? And I said, yes, I would love a switching job with the proto throttle. Santa Cruz and Northern timetable. Here is the dispatcher's desk. They do run timetable and train order. So they had a dispatcher and they had 2 operators. One of the operators sat inside the helix. The operator can actually throw some of the switches and give signals as needed. Again, the phone and everything for the operator. And then here's just some pictures around the layout. Yep. Sydney, you're a moderator. If you want to post those links up, feel free to post the links. But yes. Here's some layout pictures. Here's a picture that I think all of us model railroaders could look up in our own model railroad rooms and see. This layout is about 35 years old, and it's still working and operating. He runs a cementer train. Yeah, I had a good time with the protothrottle. Lou got to run the cementer. He was pulling out any hair that he had left by the end of it. Here's a custom locomotive, Sacramento and Northern. Some of the paperwork that he had on the left was just to let the yard know what trains were coming and going, and the right was to help with industry locations. He does the whole spot hold pull system, so it's not like how I have my car card boxes set up. It's a different system, but a lot of people use that system too. But yeah, again, like just so many really good details. One of the best parts I gotta say about Jim's layout is his dog Radley. Radley would come in and check on us, make sure everything was okay, and then he would lie down for a little while, and then he would get up and check on everybody, make sure everybody's okay, and then go lie down anymore. If you pet Radley, you were Radley's friend for the rest of the year. He had this really cool Hires root beer clock. Unfortunately, this was not set up as one of his fast clocks, but it was there. I kind of took a picture of this doorway. He's got these strings hanging up in front of the doorway, so that should you go through the doorway and not see that there's a big bridge in front of you, they kind of would smack you in the face so that you see the bridge. Here's a little switching area to throw some of the switches to some of the industries that I was working. Here's a train register. I kind of took this picture to show that nobody was actually filling out the registers, which, it happens. This was a car or a clipboard for the Mountain Local. He basically, writes out the jobs on different clipboards so that you can read them. He had some rules around there as well, just in case you needed the rules. The crusher, that was the job that I had. So first trick, second trick, all kinds of things. I basically kind of read this, didn't really understand it very well, and then just grabbed the car cards and went. I think things went okay. I haven't gotten any reports back that that things weren't in the right place. So it was a DCC layout. He had this little thing here. That little button in the center was his circuit breaker. If you tripped the breaker, that would pop, and you would have to push it back in. Here's a little scene, a little junk scene with a Western Pacific car. This was the area that I was working, West San Jose, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. I think somebody earlier was asking, yes, this was in Jim's garage. If you notice, there's kind of this big wide open area here that is just about car size. That is kind of open and unobstructed. but then he's got all of these other little, we'll get to them. There's some paperwork. There's some more paperwork. There's his golden spike, John Allen's time saver, switching contest, some more paperwork. Sorry, I'm trying to get to there's the Crusher paperwork again. Why did I not put those pictures together? Somewhere I thought I had a picture of how narrow his aisles were. Here you go. So you can see like here, right? So he's got these narrow little aisles and some of these like sharp little curves to get around. And just some more narrow aisles. So I was going to ask, why do people think that there is a big open space in the middle of his garage that is car-sized, and then the rest of the layout has these really tiny, skinny aisles? Well, the reason is because his wife has a Thunderbird, and that Thunderbird is sitting in the driveway during the op sessions, but he must leave space in his garage for the Thunderbird. So yes, if we look back at this picture here, you can kind of make out the height of the ledge in the far back, and that ledge is just high enough that that Thunderbird will fit underneath it, and they can put the Thunderbird in it, which I thought was kind of neat. So this was on Sunday. So after this, we went back to the hotel, and at 7:30 at night, Tony Thompson gave a clinic. I forget the exact name of the clinic, but it was something like the jobs on the railroad, and he talked about the agent job and, you know, just the various different jobs on the layout. So that was kind of interesting. It opened up it opened me up to this idea of an agent on the railroad. And that kind of was interesting because the next layout I went to was Seth Newman's UP Oakland sub. If you don't know, Seth Newman is the owner-operator of the Model Railroad Control Systems Company. He's the one that sells these little guys, right? So he sells the little flagmen. He sells these light picks, which I like. He sells CMRI stuff. He sells telephone systems. So I expected this layout would be right up my sleeve, and it would be a lot of technology and a lot of fun, which it was. When we arrived, this sign was was posted outside of Seth's house. So we knew where it was. That is Seth straight ahead there in the center, giving the briefing. The job that I ended up doing for most of the session was on the right here, which is Numi. And, oh, geez. I did it again. Start over. I tell you, these new guys. Here's the sign. Outside Seth's house. Play the sign, like line up watch it back and line up the audio with the slides. That's Seth Newman there in the center. Numi is on the right. That is the job that I ended up doing. Seth uses the little slide switches to control a bunch of his turnouts in the industrial areas. This was snow go, I forget. He had all these little signal repeaters set up around the layout. Model railroad signals are not always in the best places for the operators to see. So the best way to make them visible to the operators is to remote them. So he had them up on the top of his backgrounds wherever there were signals. So like here, here's the signals down here. He had all of his signal boxes labeled. You can kind of make out the labels there, CPM 009, CPM 005. West Numi is on the one, East Yard is on the other, just so you knew which block you were in. And that matched where the slide switches were that controlled the layouts. What does Mark need in one of the corners of his layouts? The repeater signal. You can kind of see the slide switch in the hole, but they're all recessed. If it had a gold label on it, it meant that it was local controlled, but you needed to request permission. On the left, you can see they're in white, and that means it was dispatcher controlled. So you'd have to call the dispatcher. The dispatcher could basically turn it over to the operators. It was set up, everything was pretty much with CMRI into JMRI, and they were using cats on top of JMRI and all that good stuff. One thing I really liked is he had all these laminated 8.5 by 11 sheets of his industries, but the best part of it is that he had Velcro on the back of it. So if you were in one area and you needed to move it to another area, you would just pull it off this piece of Velcro and walk over to where you were working and hang it up on a different piece of Velcro. So I thought that was really great. And the other thing here is he has, how many cars will fit on each siding, right? So the drivetrain is 560 footers, the steel track is 550s and whatnot. So just provides some additional details. And I just liked that it was removable and that the operator, you didn't have to try and read it on the fascia. You could take it off and look at it and stick it back up there. Here's his voltage and his amperage meters that he had, which I thought were kind of cool that they were old school meters. There's his little yard limit sign. One of the things that I really liked on this layout is he would blue flag all of his industries. So in order to get into the industry, you would have to check with, quote, check with the agent to get permission to go into industries. When you would check, you would pull the flag and put the flag off to the side. When you left the industry, you would put the blue flag back. Essentially, you're entering somebody's work area. You might not know, whether some guy's in a boxcar working. So before the locomotive is allowed into the area, you would need to, check in with the foreman of that, warehouse and make sure that nobody is working in a boxcar that you're about to pick up. So the way they did this was with these little flags. So I ended up getting not the same flags. Those are a lot more prototypical. But I got these little flags, and I think I'm gonna probably drill my own little holes and add little blue flags, because I think it's a neat thing to kind of slow things down, to kind of, make people work for it a little bit. Earlier we showed you how Dave Stanley at the Murata Belt does his track weights, car weights, stop, brake weights. This is how Seth Newman does it. It's a piece of UHMW with a heavy piece of steel on top of it. They got grooves so they fit into the tracks. Not as fancy as the ones from Dave Stanley's, but by all means just as effective. I think the point being, at least why I found this so interesting, is I go to so many layouts where the layout owners know the track's on a hill, right? And they know, because there's been tons of layout sessions, that the cars are going to roll. And a lot of layout owners will just have a binder clip or something, and you just binder clip to one of the rails and it stops the car. And yeah, it works, but I think it's nice having this sort of, specific, weighted item for it. Here's a little bicycle scene. I forget the exact story, but I believe one of the modelers in the group was a cyclist, and so he put this cycling scene on his layout. This is New Me Yard. This is the area I worked. Yeah, you know, auto racks, all kinds of stuff. Good stuff here or there. Neat fencing. You can see the little details too. Like you can see this shed, the door's open. There are lights on inside. I don't remember taking this photo. I don't know what I was taking a picture of. I think I might have been trying to take a picture of these two lovers in the boat. This office is behind a building that, unless you kind of walk around the layout and kind of look back, like you're not going to see it. But look how detailed that interior is on this building. So, like, you're not even going to see it, but it's a nice detail for those that do. He models, you know, the inside of some of these buildings, even though, again, you're not really going to see them, but, you know, if you know it's there, you know it's there. Here's the inside of a garage, you know, again, modeled details. Those extra little details, the lighting and the little extra bits and pieces definitely make a difference. And you can tell this is a model railroader. That's his workbench. As you can see, there is not an inch of open space to work on anything. If somebody had a car that had a problem, Seth would take the car, go over to this area, fix it, and bring it right back. So this was a scene that won an award. I forget who made it. I don't know if I can't quite read it, but it was a fancy scene that they made. This is a track cleaning car that he has from Korea Brass that I just thought was cool. So the very last layout I went to, so Seth's layout was my last official BayRails layout, but then they did some extra sessions for people that were going to stick around. So my extra session, I got to go to Dave Loveless's SP Coast Division Monterey branch, I think it's called. Dave was another really good guy. This is a pretty big layout as well. I liked on the sides here, you can see he had this little ledge where you could place stuff, so you weren't placing things on the layout. A lot of this layout isn't scenic, but there are a lot of like structures and stuff. A lot of I don't want to say placeholders because they are the actual buildings, but they're still in process. They're still building it, still making it, still putting it together, and so you can see, right, like here, right, like these are all these structures and stuff are starting to come together, but it's not, you know, 100% finished. Another use of a mirror hidden between the trees. So, you know, again, so here's the track plan on the left there, so you can kind of see how the layout is put together. Cannery Row, this is one of the first switching jobs that I did. He had some little funny rules around the layout. Number 2, please keep all animals and kids on leashes. Here's his staging tracks. You had to flip the switches to turn the power on. This staging track was basically at both ends of the railroad. So if you went one way out of the staging track, you were basically in one end of the layout. If you went the other way out of the staging track, you were at the other end of the layout. That's Seth Newman there, again, from the last layout. The woman on the right is Sydney Abaticola, who we've seen a couple times throughout the day. So this was a lot of the regulars came out on this day. Here's his yard lead with all of his turnouts. You would just have to hit one button, and the one button would switch everything out. It looks like I showed a picture of Sydney, and she's like, I'm out. To select the staging track, there you go, you see it, you can read it, it actually works. We ran all steam. I guess that was the era, right? We had a whole bunch of these steam locomotives. Again, NCE, lots of cab 06 throttles. A lot of these really interesting. I gotta figure out, I gotta make these up for my layout. I want something like this for my layout, but I don't really have them on the layout. And then, you know, he's got the funny, you know, signs. Measure twice, cut once, say crap 3 times, and go back to the hardware store. It was just a good time. This is his train position board for the helix. As the train goes down or up the helix, these little lights would light up so you know where your train is. He had some blue point switches, so this little round nubbin with the little thing coming out of it, you would reach and you would pull that, and that would work the blue point switch. As seems to always be the place, the dispatcher is inside the helix. That is Al inside the helix. There's Seth and a bunch of people were hanging out outside. There's donuts right in front of John about a cola. There's the back of John's head. There's the side of Sydney. There's Al. There's Seth. All a bunch of people. And this is the last slide, and I thought this was kind of funny. Speed was not there. I don't know why Speed was not there, but Speed was not there. So the last slide, we finally made it to the last slide, and I thought this was really funny. I first was taking this picture because I saw this Loveless tomatoes here on the side. But what was even funnier to me is he had this sign sitting here in the back, and it just said layout with an arrow pointing up. And we were actually, let me see, I'll actually show you where this is. I actually have another picture of this. I didn't realize I had it. So here's another picture of it. So here's the Loveless tomato sign, and there's the layout sign just kind of pointing back at the wall. I know that that sign like is like he probably like meant to have it like on the table outside, like pointing towards the layout door. But I just thought it was kind of funny that he, you know, that it was sitting in the location that it was sitting. So I had to take a picture of it. So I was going to say this is the end of the slideshow, but the reality is this is really the beginning. I got a lot of inspiration, a lot of ideas, a lot of things that, you know, I want to bring to my layout. You know, I've redone all my car cards, so these all need to get, you know, cut out. We'll see. Island Ops is coming up soon, so I'm excited about that. I have one more op session here before Island Ops. I am also going to, I think it's called, I can never remember if it's Ops Around the Clock or Ops Till You Drop. I think it's Ops Till You Drop. As well, I'm hopefully going to go up and see Joey and get to see his layout as well during that time. But Ops Till You Drop, thanks. I believe Paul is going to be there as well at Ops Till You Drop, so I'll get to see Paul. I'll get to probably see Ed. Hopefully see Joey, see some, you know, people that are up in that area as well. But yes. This is just the beginning. This is not the end, so much more to come. From the city that never sleeps, farewell, model citizens.
It's all about humanity.